Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome
Shabbat Shalom.
to this Mincha service on Shabbat. So we'll get started with a song of welcome, Psalm 133. Hine matov umanaim. How good it is for brothers and sisters to sit together. Hine matov umanaim. שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לי, יאללה לה 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 לה, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לי, יאללה לה 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 לה, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לי, לה 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 לה, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לי, לה 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 לה, שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת 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 שלום, שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת 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 שלום, שבת 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 שלום, שבת 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 שלום, שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת 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 שלום, שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת 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 שלום.
So Shabbat beckons us to be different. In terms of your daily lives, you wish you could fine-tune them a little bit, be a little bit more present maybe, a little bit better balanced, be a better listener maybe, not to jump to assumptions so quickly, not to be in such a rush. I mean, there's so many things that we would love and we work on ourselves. And Shabbat's fascinating because it feels like there's so many rules about Shabbat. You learn about so many things that you can't do. You're like, why does it have to be so stringent? And the reason is because the rabbis recognize that in order to create change in our life, sometimes we have to create radical change. I'm going to talk during the Torah reading a little bit about this. And so if you want to impact your life, you have to take and make radical change to wake you up about the way that we live our lives during the week. That's why not working, not creating fires, not spending money, right? All those things are designed to have us reflect in a very different way. And it includes, by the way, the use for us of electronics and during the course of our service. So if you would, in order to help us with creating a holy feeling here, to just turn off your phones, if you don't mind. Just for the next hour, you don't have to worry about them. Thank you, guys. You don't have to worry about what's on TikTok or what's happening. Did you miss anything in the world, the latest post on Instagram or something like that? You'll survive without knowing what took place in the last hour. And so we just want to hold on to that holiness. You're going to be able to follow along in our Mincha, that's the afternoon service, in the red Siddur. It's the smaller of the two books in front of you. We'll need the larger one in just a little bit for the Torah reading. And on page 214, Aiden is going to lead us in the Ashrei. We've asked him to lead us in English. And come on up, Aiden, if you will, please. And if you'd like to respond with us in the English, you can do so, please. Again, page 214. Go ahead, Aiden.
Joyous are they who dwell in your house, they shall praise you forever.
Joyous the people who are so favored. Joyous the people whose God is Adonai.
I exalt you, my God, my sovereign. I praise your name always.
Every day I praise you, glorifying your name always.
Great is Adonai, greatly to be praised. Through your greatness is unfathomable.
One generation praises your works to another, telling of your mighty deeds.
I would speak of your majestic glory and of your wondrous acts.
Generations speak of your awe-inspiring deeds. I too shall recount your greatness.
They recount your great goodness and sing of your righteousness.
Adonai is merciful and compassionate, patient and abounding in love.
Adonai is good to all, and God's mercy embraces all of creation.
All of creation acknowledges you, and the faithful bless you.
They speak of glory of your sovereignty and tell of your might.
Proclaiming to humanity your mighty deeds and the glory of your majestic sovereignty.
Your sovereignty is eternal. Your dominion endures in every generation.
Adonai supports all who falter and lifts up all who are bent down.
The eyes of all look hopefully to you.
Continue. And you?
And you provide them nourishment in its proper time.
Opening your hand, you satisfy with contentment all that lives.
Adonai is righteous in all that is done, faithful to all creation.
Adonai is near to all who call, sincerely.
God fulfills the desire of those who are faithful, listening to their cries, rescuing them.
Adonai
Watches over all who love the Holy One, but will destroy all the wicked.
My mouth shall utter praise of Adonai. May all that is mortal praise God's name forever and ever.
Thank you, Aiden. You can go down. On page 217, we continue with the Hatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתגדל שמי רבה
Amen.
ועמד יברכי רותי ועמליך מלכותי בחייכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ויאמרו אמן.
As we prepare to open the ark, we're going to call up the grandparents. You're going to make your way up here. Please, Raina and Joel and Leslie, you can make your way up here. And when we take out the Torah, it is always being presented in terms of community, always fanfare, as if it's coming down even from Mount Sinai. If you might imagine that, and we can receive it all the time. We receive it afresh. And so on page 218, we begin at the top of the page.
ואני תפילתי לך אדוני את רצון אלוהים ברוב חסדך ענני באמת אישך ויהי בנשוא הארון
As the ark is open, we rise together, please.
ויאמר משה קומה אדוני ויפוצו אויביך וינוסו משנאיך מפניך כי מציון תצא תורה כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר אדוני מירושלים ברוך שנתן תורה תורה ברוך שנתן תורה תורה ודבר אדוני בקדושתו גדלו איתי ונרוממה שמו יחדיו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו.
May be seated. You can put away your Siddur, the prayer book, the smaller of those books. You can put them away. If you want to follow the Torah, you may be seated. You take out the larger of the red books. That is the Torah Text. The Torah we're reading from the final chapters of Leviticus. You'll find on page 738. And this is the portion of Bahar. Aiden, right? That's the correct portion? Good. Just making sure that you're going to be reading the correct portion. So Bahar is one of the shortest portions of the Torah reading year in terms of the Torah reading cycle. Anybody, by the way, anybody know what's written on the Liberty Bell? What phrase is written on the Liberty Bell? Oh, come on. Isn't this like from middle school? Eli, do you know what it is? That would be on money, which I would see after bar mitzvah you might be more connected to, right? Right? But it's good, right? You shall proclaim liberty throughout the land. Is that familiar? That's why it's called the Liberty Bell. Shall proclaim liberty throughout the land. That verse comes from our portion. Those words are going to be read, right, by our bar mitzvah. Ukaratem dror la'aretz, l'chol yoshveha. Sound familiar? You're reading them. We better. Right? You shall proclaim liberty throughout the land. Now, to understand why it's there on the Liberty Bell, you have to understand, first of all, that the forefathers of America loved Bible. They even loved Hebrew. By the way, some of the earliest universities actually have Hebrew in their insignias, in the colleges. If you look at the universities and colleges that were founded like 1700s, right, they have very often Hebrew as part of it. They were very connected to that tradition of their biblical roots. And so it happens that our portion is really, I'm going to throw this out as a controversial kind of, reflection, a socialist manifesto. In what way is a socialist manifesto? It's the words and the laws are designed to, if you will, reset society when it becomes imbalanced. Right? When there's too much poverty, when things are not good, it's a reset. Now, how does that happen? If you read along, and some of the words that Aiden will read, it talks about the sabbatical year every 7th year, when you didn't plant the land, and you actually took a year off in terms of appreciation. And, by the way, debts were forbidden, personal debts. Included in our portion, by the way, is the commandment that when you lend to somebody in need, it's not a commercial loan, but when you lend to someone in need, you may not charge them interest. Why? Because it's a mitzvah to help somebody, and you're not supposed to make money off of a mitzvah by helping other people. And so you loan to them. And then in the 50th year, 7 times 7, 49, and that 50th year is called the Jubilee Year. In the Jubilee Year, there's a radical reset. Lands are returned to the original landowners in Israel. So which meant, by the way, in the land of Israel, in ancient Israel, you could never buy the land. You leased it for a maximum of years until that Jubilee Year. And then it would return back to the original owners. Now, why did it do this? By the way, and all slaves were remitted and they would go free as well. What's behind this? Is they didn't want anybody to mortgage their land forever. Like they didn't want them to create in perpetuity where their families would be impoverished, to live in poverty. By the way, some of the greatest revolutions throughout history have been when there's been an inequity between those who have and those who have not. Any of you like fans of history, historians, anybody here? Now, if you talk about the French Revolution, why did that happen? Because the poor were so poor versus the rich who were so rich. And that disparity is what led to the revolution. The greatest revolutions take place when the disparity between the poor and the rich exceeds what that society can withhold. And our portion of the Bible it's aware of that. And it's saying, be aware of social inequities and do what you can not to allow that to happen. Powerful things to think about. Really, it's a really amazing. In the meantime, Aiden's going to be speaking a little bit later about some of the more specific issues of our portion. But Shelby and Stacy, why don't you come up with Aiden? You're going to speak with him, and you're going to present him with that talit. Actually, I think Stacy's going to speak, and Shelby's going to present.
Aiden, your dad and I are so proud to be standing up here today with you. You have worked so hard to become a bar mitzvah, and we couldn't be happier. Through years of Jewish education, beginning with preschool when you were 2 years old, throughout weekly religious school, adding in weekly Hebrew pod, and eventually bar mitzvah tutoring, you have shown a remarkable dedication to Judaism. We realize we asked a lot, but you came through with flying colors. Navigating your Jewish education with regular school, sports, and other activities has not always been easy, but you did it and you excelled at all of it. As you were growing up, we knew you were special. Your fierce independence to pursue things you enjoyed rather than what your brothers or friends wanted you to do was our first indication that you were destined for great things. Your creativity in drawing and popsicle stick art is unlike anything we have ever seen. Your love of music makes your dad crazy happy. Hearing you blasting Alexa with old school Michael Jackson or the most recent song on the radio always makes us smile. Your hilarious giggle and uproarious laughter is infectious. You have a heart of gold for those you love and care about. Despite consistent frustration being born sandwiched between Ian and Jakey, you never disappoint in showing your giant heart to your brothers when it counts. Your huge hugs and silly wet kisses are always welcome, no matter how old you are, especially when accompanied by your hilarious giggle. Your loyalty to your friends and your ability to draw people into your interesting circle of interests is amazing to watch. Seeing you maintain friendships from your first days at Temple Aliyah when you were 2 years old to the new friends you are consistently making makes us proud of the person you have become. After watching your journey of becoming a bar mitzvah, we know you can accomplish anything you put your mind to. We know that the future holds greatness for you on your independent path of life. We are so excited to hang out on the sidelines of that path and see where it leads you.
All right, so you're going to present him with the talit this time. And Aiden, you're going to take it and then turn towards the microphone and recite the blessing. No, the blessing first? Blessing?
Okay. Take it off.
It's all right. You got excited there. It's all right.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotah v'tzivanu l'hitzateit b'tzitzit.
Amen. And now you'll put it on. Ian, you're going to join us up here, page 738 for the Torah reading, beginning with the portion of Bahar.
ותגלה ותראה מלכותו עלינו בזמן קרוב ויכון פליטותינו ופליטנו ובית בית ישראל וכן לחסר רחמים ורצון ונאמר אמן אבו גודל אלוהינו תנו כבוד לתורה יעמדו שחר בן יואל ורחל ושרה בת משה ולאה ויצחק בן שחר ושרה ראשון ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו, ואתם מתוקים ברנו אליכם, חיים כולכם היום.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
וידבר אדוני אל משה בהר סיני לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם כי תבואו אל הארץ אשר אני נותן לכם ושבתם הארץ שבת לאדוני 6 שנים תזרח שדך ו6 שנים תזמור כרמך ואספת את תבואתה.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam notah b'tachenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. All right, Brandon Howard, you're going to come up for the second Aliyah. Come on, please.
Ya'amod Binyamin ben Moshe umindel sheni.
Let's go ahead. You can touch it here, right there, if you want. Okay. Starting up here. Okay.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Repeat that.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
ובשנה השביעי שבת שבתון יהא לארץ שבת לאדוני צדיך לא תזרח וכרמך לא תזמור את ספיך קצירך לא תקצור ואת ינבי נזירך לא תבצור שנת שבתון יהא לארץ וחייתה שנת הארץ, שבת הארץ, לכם לאכלה, לחד ולעבדך ולאמתך ולסירך ולתושבך הגרים עמך. ולחפתם ולחיה אשר בארצך תהיה כל תבואתה לאכול.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam notah betohenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Abachur Abar Mitzvah Ya'amod Aiden ben Shachar v'Sara Shlishi Chazak Chazak.
Before Aiden begins with the Torah reading, he's going to share, go ahead, some of your thoughts on today's portion. Go ahead.
My Torah portion is Bechar. Rather than a story, Bechar is about Adonai's rules to Moses about the use of Adonai's land. The land is Adonai's because he freed the Israelites from slavery. Adonai tells Moses that he can only grow and use the land every 6 years, and in the 7th year, the land must rest. And then the land can only be used every 6 years until the 49th year. In the 50th year, it is called the Jubilee Year. Adonai also tells Moses how the land can be bought and sold and who can work the land. Adonai tells Moses that he cannot cheat the buyer or the workers. Adonai allows Moses and other owners of the land to have slaves, but they cannot be Israelites. Israelites can only be Adonai's slaves because he saved them. If Moses has slaves, he must treat them fairly and not cruelly. There are many main topics in the Torah portion, but the main topic is the rule that God makes are not always fair, but probably for a reason. The topic shows that even a great leader like God can be greedy. This is important to know because not everyone's perfect, and certainly not God. Another topic of my Torah portion, Bechar, is that God thinks the Israelites are his slaves because he freed them from slavery. This is important because it shows God is not being fair. Another topic is that Adonai tells Moses that he can only grow and use the land every 6 years, and on the 7th year, the land must rest. I think this is an important topic because it shows how everyone needs rest once in a while to be at their fullest. The last but not least topic is Adonai tells Moses how the land can be bought and sold and who can work the land. I think this is interesting because it shows how God has authority over the land. In learning my Torah portion to become a bar mitzvah, I learned that there are always rules, even God's rules. Rules create a successful society, which is what I think God was trying to do when he made the rules in Bahar. In studying for this day, I realized that if I didn't follow the rules to become a bar mitzvah, such as keeping my appointments with Hazan Mimi and studying to prepare for the meetings, I would not be a successful bar mitzvah. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorah. Baruch Adonai Hamvorah le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah. V'sefar tar lehad. Sheva Shabbatot Shanim, Sheva Shanim, Sheva Peyamim, V'chayu lehad. Yemei Sheva Shabbatot Hashniim, Teshav Arba'im, Shenat, V'vartar, Shofar Teruach, Bechodesh Hashvi'i, Be'asor Lachodesh, Bayom HaKippurim, Teviru shofar bechol artzehem, v'kirashtem et shena tamishim shena, v'kirashtem ukratem deror ba'aretz lechol yoshevecha yovel hitichel lachem v'shivtem ish el achuzato v'ish el mishpato tashuvu Yovel hi shenat hamishim shena tichel lachem lo tizrach velo tikseru et sefihecha velo tifseru et nazirecha ki yovel hi kodesh tichel lachem min hasadeh tochelu et tevuata Bishnat hayovel hazot tashuvu ish el achuzato. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah Text v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. You can throw the candy if you have.
Semen tov, mazel tov, semen tov, mazel tov, semen tov, mazel tov, semen tov, Yehelanu, Udechal Yisrael, Yehelanu, Udechal Yisrael, David Melech Yisrael, I Mikayam, David Melech Yisrael, I Mikayam, Semen tov, mazel tov, semen tov, mazel tov, semen tov, mazel tov,
just asked Aiden how he's feeling. I said, "You feeling better?" He goes, "Oh, yeah." When you get through that Torah reading, anybody who's had a bar mitzvah knows that feeling when you can breathe just a little bit easier. You are, by the way, the first family, if you haven't thought about this, to have 2 children during the time of this pandemic. Really. So you hold a special. It was. God willing, will not be 3.
God willing.
All right. And Ian's was outside. Because we weren't yet allowed to be inside. And some of you will remember Rabbi Galko was here and officiating, and the idea that how quickly life can change and where we are in life, I hope you have a sense of appreciation, and that you do as well. And Ian, just how life changes, right, in terms of scope of time, and how important family is to your family. And Stacy, I'm thinking about your dad. Right? I think it's about 9 years ago or so that they passed away. And, he's here. His presence is very much a part of this moment. Our family's always with us. So for you, I want you always to hold on to family. You are an interesting individual, Aiden. Right? You walk to your own drummer, as we would say. Right, from pickleball to other things that you enjoy doing. Right, the idea of life is you're going to enjoy life as much as you can, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're going to be able to enjoy the moment, even when your mom or dad gives you that look, like, hold on. And you kind of give them that smile and see what you can get away with. I know that smile. I've seen it. But to be able to enjoy life is important. And also to be able to find balance. I love some of the messages of your Torah reading. I love that you struggled a little bit with what it meant to be a servant of God. By the way, very often the rabbis wouldn't translate as a slave to God, but rather as a servant, right? To be able to, if you will, serve something with a purpose, rather not just other people, but to have a divine purpose. I mean, that's part of what this moment is about in terms of your reading. I hope you remember it more than just a trivial, a question in a game of trivia. Like where, what is the verse on the Liberty Bell? Where does it come from? More than just being able to answer that question now, because you'll remember this, I hope, your whole life. Right? If ever asked, it's the book of Leviticus. Right? And it means, right, you shall proclaim liberty throughout the land. The idea that you stand for something, that we stand for something, a tradition, or Jewish tradition that has empowered American culture and American life. I mean, those are things that are important for you, and to bring goodness always into the world. That's what this is about, Aiden. We hope that you hold on to it and you've learned that. And most of all, I want you to know, this is important, that when you want to, and you can push yourself, you can do whatever you want. There's no limit to your capabilities. Right? You're very smart, and you have a way with people. And whenever you want, just to know, it's not going to come easily, but rather it's going to come through perseverance and through effort. And you've been learning that along this way. I'm going to share with you at this moment a blessing that's been passed down from each generation of the Jewish people for 3,000 years. It's an old blessing. It goes like this. Yavrecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha, Yisad Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you, Aiden Linka. May you always be able to bring holiness into this world. May you always think about the ways in which you can bring goodness into this world and to help make peace. And we all say,
Amen.
Amen. We're going to return the Torah to the ark. At this time, we're going to call for it. Are they here? Howard and Stephen, did you make it? You made it. Come on up, please. You're going to open our ark as we return the Torah. I ask you to rise, please. We're back in the prayer book, page 222.
Eitz Chaim hi lamachazikim ba v'tomcheha me'ushar deracheha darchenu am וכל נתיבותיה שלום. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה, חדש ימינו כקדם.
You may be seated for a moment. Page 222, the Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביום ומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמירה ומבורך לעלם לעלמי עלמיה, יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעולמה במרו אמן.
We rise together, please. Page 223. Aiden is going to lead us in the Amidah, and he invites you, please, to join along with him.
I'm not doing this. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Velohei Avoteinu, Elohei Avram, Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarach, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Ra'el, Velohei Leah. El Hagadol, Hagibor, Branora, El Elyon, Omel Hasadim Tovi, Vikonei Hakol, Vizocher Haste Avot, Umivigo El Limeem, Lemashmo Ahava. Melech Ozer Ufokenu Mashiach Umageh, Baruch atah Adonai, Again Avraham Ufoket Sarah, Tagibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayem Etim Atah, Rav Le'oshiach, Moreid Hatal. Mechalchel chayim bechesed, mechayem etim berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofei holim, umotir asurim, umekayem emunatov bishanei afar. Micha mocha bayu gevurot, umido melach, melech memit, umechayem, umetzmiya Yeshua, une'eman atah le'echot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hametim.
נקדש שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב ביד נביאך, וקורא זה אל זה ואמר.
קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך הארץ
קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלך הארץ כבודו, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו.
ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו.
ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue silently with our prayers of the Amidah, Hebrew or English, or if you prefer, the private prayers and meditations of your heart at this time.
With us, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael.
Seated. Kaddish Shalem. By the way, you'll notice we have a number of Kaddishes even during a short service like this. Like the Chatzi Kaddish, Yikadav Yikadash, right? You hear it different ways. The Kaddish Shalem and the end of our service, the Mourner's Kaddish. Each one helps us detail as part of our service. It's like punctuation. A half Kaddish is like a comma. This Kaddish Shalem is a period telling us we're at the end of our service, basically, with just one or two more prayers. And so when you hear these words, and when we say them in the form of the Kaddish, very slow, they have a very different meaning as well. They're words of affirmation. We continue with the Kaddish Shalem, this period of punctuation, on page 230.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובמכון ובחיית כל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעלם לעלמאו היה יתברך וישמח ויתפאר ותשמע ונעשה ויתהדר ויתהלב ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמיון וארבע ויאמרו אמן. תתקבל צלותון ורהון כל בית ישראל קודם לשמי ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלום רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרביו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו Amen.
We rise together for Aleinu, page 231. Aiden is going to lead us.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol l'teit gedula l'tzer bereshit shelo asanu kegoye hartzot velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama shelo sam helkenu kahem v'goralenu kechol hamonam ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושינתו זאת בגופי מרומי הוא אלוהינו אינו אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו כך כתוב בתורתו היום וליישב מלך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ והארץ מתחת אין עוד אין עוד ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר וחיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. And you can join your family also. The final prayer of the mourner's Kaddish. If there's anybody who has a need or desire, the reciting the words of memory on page 232. Feel free to stand and to recite these words with me. If not, those of you who can respond to the appropriate sections as I begin. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Amen. V'yalmad yivrach rutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Bagalav v'zman kariv yimeru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'me'omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yishomam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran v'alma v'meru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'meru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'meru. Amen. Aiden, you made it all the way through, including a last-minute pit stop. It was quite an event tonight. Right? It was. It all works out in the end. Did you enjoy it? I want you to. I'm glad you did. You never know until you get there. right? But we tell you we're going to take this journey with you. So let's have you come up with your mom, your dad, Stacy, Shelby, Kalana, and Ian and Jacob. Going to have you all join us up here, please. And everyone else, we're going to have you rise at this moment. You're going to join us in the blessed Shechianu, blessing that acknowledges the time that's sacred. And this moment that we've just shared is one of those sacred moments. All right, put your arms around your neighbor if you want, and we join together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקימן והגיענו לזמן הזה ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקימן והגיענו לזמן הזה
Let's do that, amen, one more time, nice and beautifully. Mazal Tov, Aiden!
Simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, Yehelanu, 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 Ulecha Yisrael, Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Ulecha Yisrael, David Melech Yisrael, David Kayam, David Melech Yisrael, David Kayam, Simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, Yehelanu.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.